Okay, there you go. That's 1, 2, and 3. That'll work. All right. So, everyone's owned a dog or a cat or even a hamster, but have you ever owned a reptile? Well, so today I would like to go over how reptiles can be just as rewarding as normal pets, or even better. So, um, my background is I've owned leopard gecko specifically for a collective of 4 years, and along that time, and when I was younger, I did a lot of research on reptiles and as pets and other things, and also more recently as I work at the veterinary medicine complex at Kansas State. So that's pretty nice. What I'd like to go over are 3 main points that every pet owner has at the beginning or has before they get their pet. Those are the initial cost, the day-to-day care, and the temperament of the animal. So the first thing that comes to a pet owner's mind when they're getting ready to buy a pet is, the initial cost. From BHB Reptiles, which is a very reputable reptile dealer, price listing for a normal leopard gecko is anywhere from $20 for the normal morphs, the colors, upwards of $2,000. They're not all that much. If you take an average, or I guess a mean would be the correct word, would be about $100 for most morphs. So, moo cow, my leopard gecko was $80. PetMD though, for the average adoption cost, please adopt dogs, is about $250, and that's the average, but it can be anywhere from a free pet to upwards of $400, and that may or may not include immunizations, spay and neuter, registration, all that kind of stuff. The most costly thing for owning reptiles, any reptile for that matter, is the enclosure and heating costs, because reptiles are cold-blooded; they need a lot of heat. Cage, just the enclosure, can go anywhere from $20 to $100. Straight out of the store, it's around $100, but I like to try to get a little thrifty, and most of the time there's someone on the internet or close by in town that will be able to sell a $20 enclosure. Heating pad, bulb and lamp, and thermostat, which are all required, will run you about another $100. So initial investment is about the same for both normal animals and reptiles. On the plus side, though, feeding costs for adult leopard geckos are just about $1 a week. So a total year, $52 for feeding. That's great. According to costhelper.com, the average cost of feeding a dog per year is $200 to $400. So right there, you're cutting it into eighths. So after that initial investment, the next step is worrying about day-to-day care. So the main thing is that you have to water the gecko daily. They need to have a humid climate so their skin is able to shed when they need to, and so they can they get most of their water from skin contact. Other than that, you only have to feed them every other day. On top of that, leopard geckos specifically, when they use the restroom, they always like to pick one corner of their enclosure. It's always the same corner, and since it's a drier poop, you can collect it all very easily, usually from the substrate, which can be some type of sand, or I use paper towels right now, and you can just take the paper towel out and replace it with a new one. It's that easy. Whereas dogs, you have to go out every day and do some things with a little plastic bag. Really, the only thing that you need to worry about health-wise for the lizard is watching the temperature and humidity. Humidity, normal Midwestern humidity, or that will be in your house, is just fine. Same thing with the temperature. Room temp with the lamp and the heating pad will be perfectly adequate. The temperature range is anywhere from upper 70s at night to 90s or 90 max during the day in the hottest spot of the cage. On top of that, there's almost zero vet costs. You don't have to get them. You don't have to get shots. You don't have to have a normal medication. At most, any medication can be bought over the counter at your local pet store. Now that we have all the practical needs out of the way, how are they as actual pets? So for a temperament, I got most of my facts from an article by Ron Trimper, who is actually a very well known breeder of leopard geckos. He actually has a bunch of genetic traits named after him, which is pretty nice. Um, they can be trained slightly. It's mostly a reward system where they will follow hand gestures and move to certain spots of the cage when whatever you do is done. Um, they're almost always person friendly. The only time that would not be true is if they were being abused or mishandled in a way. Um, they will never ever bite you. Leopard geckos will never bite you unless you smell like food. If it's feeding time and you just had bugs on your hand and you try to stick your hand down, they'll probably think it's a cricket. But other than that, they will lick or they will move their head away because they don't like that smell. So that's really all the good that comes from owning leopard geckos. Uh, I guess in conclusion, what you need to remember is after the initial investment, the cost is way less than a normal animal. The maintenance is also very minimal. You just have to watch for the heat and humidity. And honestly, they can be as cool as dogs and cats. So I hope all these things convince you to get one. If not, I hope that little face did too.